others join, but I will start the class with something very important for us. Why we do this practice constantly. Now, why we do this practice constantly is come into having a tool to be aware, um, not necessary to find that space where we can see ourselves that we even don't know that have been conditioned, or it can be a trauma, or it can be the caregivers of our life have conditioned us into a certain level. So for me, it was in Sri Lanka, my parents had groceries and bookshops and all that. And when they found that I have diabetes, um, the chocolate was taken. And at that time, if they go overseas, they'll bring chocolates from overseas. But otherwise, we had a brand called Candos. Uh, for me, the chocolate was given prior to my diabetes as being a good boy, or a good child, or being more stronger in my level of behavior, more like being a man. So when that was taken, I didn't know as a child I had a trauma. I would go into the toilet and steal chocolate from the shop, which was belongs to my parents. I would have those chocolates, but then I also punished myself as being a bad person. So that developed in later into my relationships, later into my level of understanding about things. I get quite offensive when someone says, "Oh, you can't have that." Um, so where we are coming is, until we find where these dark spaces are. Carl Jung is great on working on this shadow self. So today's classes, I'm going to create a lot of opportunities for you to observe those areas and let them come into the space of the light. Let they come into the place of understanding and realization. This was something that we have created within ourselves. It's not about embracing and glorify the inner child. It is about realization. And that realization you might turn into something that you are going to be more aware when you are triggered on those areas, and that you no longer react from that place of not necessarily negativity, but that was part of your conditioning. And until you have total level of understanding and embrace that part and bring that part into the surface, not to achieve anything, but truly into your practice, truly into your life, you will start seeing lots of changes are happening. So saying that very gently, and then move the camera towards Darren and take a good breath, shoulders roll back, and just be coming into the space of being aware of the breath, being aware of the body, being aware of that space of the mind where thoughts, emotions, all coming in into that space. Doesn't have to be born from a certain area and dissolve into another area. Just your part is part of witnessing. Now, until you come into this space and creating this space of stillness, that you are no longer in the space of the ego or in the space of the reaction, mind takes over the life, and or the ego or the identification. So what we are trying to come into the place of this understanding and realization. So now take a deep breath in, shoulders very gently roll back and opening up that space, and allow and create space. Not just the idea of space, but coming into experiencing the space. There is a massive difference of that space of the idea uh, from the space of experimenting it. So now whether it's a pain or a pleasure, but it's projecting things, but the space of the projector is still in the space of understanding and not identification. Now stretch the neck very gently onto the right side. Introduce that space on the left, encompassing the space so much and the objects around the space, within the space, that if there's anything hidden, anything that undesirable, bad, negative, let it come into that space so that you can allow the body into that realization where the personalities live, where the egos live. Now take a gentle deep breath and very gently stretching the neck onto the other side. Now, by doing that, when you come into the awareness of the breath, the body, the mind, wherever there is something unconsciously pushed into, onto a side, onto a dark, to a forgotten, this is allow that heart not to get freed by negativity reaction, but you're allowing space. Because you can move through the body into that space, or you can move through the mind into that space. Without division, try to understand this. Breathing in back into the center. Now very gently, love where the buttocks are situated, not a logic space, not an awareness of a name or a experiencing of that object is more important. Now twist the spine to the right side, stomach pulled in very gently, opening up that chest. Now in this very moment, whatever is coming into your level of understanding, allow it. Try not to give another name, another meaning, or right or wrong. This is why it is very important rather than just trying to do things. This is undoing things. Breathing in back into the center. Now very gently change the leg formation. Shoulders relax. Observe the space that you're working with. To send the spine to the opposite direction on the out breath. So in this time, the mind with the mind, whether the good boy, bad boy, right, happiness, unhappiness, all this what we perceived as a child, what we suppress as a child, let it come into that. If there's nothing coming, just let it be. Because all what we try is to fit in, and we try to fit in and please others. Fit in and please others. Back to the center. Now shrug the shoulders up very gently. This is a very sensitive area of the body. Tilt the head back and massage the back of the skull. At this time, observe anything that you're holding in the jaw, back of the neck. Now, breath out completely into the chest and allow that back of the neck to be open, especially the C1, C2, C3. This is the area in relation to the childhood. Now back to the center. Tilt the head back, shrug the shoulders, open and close the mouth widely few times. Whether there's anything suppressed as anger can be in this jaw. It can be the tongue. It can be swelling in the medulla. So this is a very interesting area that when we are triggered by these areas, we can be passive aggressive in this area. chin to the chest. Completely breathe out. Now collapse into that breath out into a seated cat. So you're working now furthermore into the spine. Now breathing in, tongue roll up onto the upper palate, energy gaze onto the space of the third eye. Now this is where we were told to be opposite to what we are. And if we are holding anything in that space, unconsciously, subtly, has influenced our life so much, those actions, those emotions, anything that has created a fragmented sense of self that was ignored. Now taking a deep breath in, gently coming back, breathe out to the cat. Now this is the area, just observe, breathing in into the cow, breathe out. Now this is the area you can pay attention to what triggers, what are your recurring behaviors. Breathing in, tongue roll up onto the upper palate, energy gaze. This is a great area where you have created this fragmentation. Breathe out. So we'll take this as a more of a healing class. Now breathing in a neutral spine. Now I want you to relax and release all the stuff that you're holding on the hands and the legs, even shake the legs, shake the arms, release the tension, unlock that space of the sitting posture. Pay attention, pay attention. Certain things will come as a trigger to opposite the pleasure. Notice it, but you're not noticing it or reacting it the way you did it before. Now feet where the knees are, feet part, bending the knees, and very gently roll that left knee towards the right dasa. So like this, yeah. Breathing in back into the center, onto the other side. Very gently pay attention to your hips, whether you have been holding anything. Couple of times onto both sides. Pay attention to the emotional trigger that can be happening as a physical trigger, or my hips are tight, or that's because of my work, or this or that. Accept where you are, and the only way to approach this area of the shadow is to have a level of acknowledgement and compassion. Observing it without any level of identification, judgment, or praise, or saying that, oh, if my knees were better, I would do this, or my hips were better. Back to the same thing. Now, very gently coming into a sukhasana where the legs are not crossed. Shoulders relax and chest open. Now observe that this opportunity that is being offered to you through that your interaction with the practice, experience in the practice. So it can be subjected to objects, names and places, or anything that is working for you. Now take a deep breath in and left leg into the back. Keep that right hip onto the space. Now you're coming into a place of accepting everything. So that's where the love comes. That's where the growth comes. That's where the self-improvement comes. Now take a deep breath in, shoulders roll back, opening up the chest. And remember, sometimes your trigger points of the body is a place of offering for you to work with this part, to interact with this part. Now take a deep breath in, drop the elbows, walk those palms and release that tension. And palms facing down, palms facing up. Fingers can be clenched and unclenched, and very gently breathe into this space, because your past traumas can be stored in the space of what you call body, what you call pain, what you call throbbing. The idea of that whole story is now stored in the space of the muscle. So if something is triggering you, it is a great opportunity, because it is showing you the doorway to the hidden corners where the shadow resides. Now breathing in very gently, coming back, shoulders relax, just open. Very gently, we take another breath to move into a plank. Strong on the pelvic floor. Now drop the knees, push the hips into the front, into the back, and breathe out into the back. Now this is a place you can very gently observe where you're repeating issues, where you can come into the same place of coming into the same relationships, same level of business patterns, same level of health patterns. Now, this is a great time to have that awareness, to coming into a place of understanding. This is signaling me. This is pointing me now to work on this. Into the parts of the roots that we call is growing under the surface. Now take a deep breath in, palms facing down, rolling and bringing the chest into the front, breathing into up face. Shoulders roll back, opening up. Breathe out towards the down face. When you one year at a time to release any further tension that you're working with, now very gently bringing the left foot into the front onto the pigeon pose. Now take a couple of more deep breaths and settle down into the space. Now see whether this is an area that you can approach with that kindness, approach with that awareness. So you're not avoiding this moment. When you're not avoiding this moment, there is no self-blame or criticism, or not a product of your previous incarnations of the past. Now take a deep breath in, shoulders relax, breath out, drop the elbows, fold those palms, and release the tension where it is triggering, or come into the understanding of accepting it. So all these are opportunities for the discovery of you as a whole, coming into the place of understanding, to recognize that space. And you're liberating from those areas that you are stuck in. So all what you're doing is you are working with your awareness, you are working with your part of observing, nothing else. And you're managing the body and the mind that is now. Take a deep breath in and very gently coming back, shoulders relaxed and chest open. Relax. Now, even in this posture, just observe whether there is any triggering parts, emotionally or physically, that you have a strong reaction to it. This can be the unresolved space that you have to bring it into your practice. Drop the knees, stretch the spine into the back, completely breathe out. Now, in this time, I'm going to give you a space of a pause rather than the commentary, to take a moment to understand that you're uncovering through your awareness. These parts have gone under the rugs, under the corners, onto the tops. Wherever the psyche has reside in a space of shadowness or a darkness. You will be aware of repeatedly what you're doing. Let it happen, because the more it happens, more you don't run into the corner again. Palms facing down, rolling and bringing the chest into the front. This time you're coming into a gentle cobra. Cobra of a place of observer. Now, in this place, all what you have come into, the integration with understanding and realization and compassion. This is very important, this work. This is very important, this practice. It's nothing to do whether you like yoga or not, or you like awareness or not. This is a very high level of care that you're giving into the body, beyond medication and beyond other things, beyond all the other things. Or look into the right side. Or look into the left side. Back to the center. Now just take a gentle breath, create the order of the spine, and gently bring the third eye and land it. So there is a gentle touch in the third eye, and a gentle awareness of the spine, gentle awareness of the back of the heels and the toes. And in very gently, you could see if there is anything suppressed furthermore, to please the idea of a body, to please the idea of a muscle, or please basically what is fashionable. what is tolerable. Now this happens when you are a weaker child. You tend to build up the armor more, be that strong person. Also put a guard so that you don't express your emotions openly. So this is a very good moment just to observe where we are overprotecting our identity or to fit into something that the society will say. Society is always having a good looky and a young look is healthy. I don't think so. I really don't think so. It looks like it's appearing in these days. Now, very gently come into this place, stretch your wings onto a shoulder height if you don't have pain, and release the tension that you are holding. Now, very gently, once you stretch both arms onto the shoulder height, or look into the right side, lift up the hips and drop the hips. Toe pointings at each other, heels apart. Then bring the heels together, toes apart. Now into a neutral space. Now breathing in and stretch the head onto the other side. Then soften the hips, soften the knees, breathe properly. Now observe the transitioning happening on energy level 2. Experience it. Toes together, heels apart. Then take a deep breath. Heels together, toes apart. Breathing in back in at the same time. Now pay attention what is triggering, noticing anything that reoccurring. Palms onto the chest level, breathing in into a up face. Energetically elevate yourselves to distance from the space, to observe the space, not to avoid the space or the object of the self. Breathe out towards the down face. Dropping knees. Coming into a place of a cat very gently. Be very gently, be honest about this practice. Breath in, tongue roll up onto the upper palate energy, gaze onto the space of the kasha. Projection into the space of all you, not half you, all you. Breathing in, tongue roll up onto the upper palate energy, gaze onto the space of the third eye. Breathe out, anus lock after completely breathing out. Navel pull back, tuck the chin. Breathing in into a neutral spine. Now very gently rotate the hips and release the tension. And observing anything without. Don't say that, okay, my digestion has this or that. Practice is the way that the awareness has given you a place, a platform onto the other side. Complete into that. Now, when these triggering points happen, it is offering a space of healing. Now knees wide apart. Out breath, stretch the spine. Now today observe all these things that whatever you are conditioned, whatever your condition of losing, whatever your condition as winning, observe all those emotional triggers that is going to happen to you today. It might be more happening for you today because you will become more aware of them. So it will provoke very sensitive level of things. But this is an opportunity. This is serves as for you to work through this level of what you call past. Because for the mind, the past lives. That's all what it does. It hold on to a past and it want to prove the past to have a future. But that's not life. That's a game we are going into the shadow self. It's throwing into the past. Or if I have this, I will be okay. If I do this, I will be okay. If the war is all over, we are all going to be. So similar types of, it's not so much situations are happening for a past person, past repeats. For a past person, past has to have a victory. So its future is also a past repeating. So these are signals from that space of the shadow. That's why that person will constantly say, life is too hard. Life is too hard because you are holding too hard emotions that you have not worked with. It's full of shadows that you're fighting, thinking that they are things. This can be accepted of both positive or negative. Now, very gently coming into a child pose. Crown of the head onto the floor, lifting up the buttocks very gently. The pituitary and the pineal energy activate, coming to that place where you can release the self-blame, the criticism, the rejection, the non-acceptance. These are triggers which evokes those areas. And breath out, land on the third eye, keep the fist on the third eye, just relax on that space. If you have evoked intensity on the nerves, reaction, and very gently wake up the spine that no longer hold that space as a reaction. It can be a memory, but it shouldn't be a trigger. One vertebra at a time, where you have acknowledged, where you are coming into a liberation, whether you're coming into a realization. But all this happening because you're observing without preconditioning. Stretch the neck to the right. Stretch the neck to the left. Back to the center. Arms stretch onto the shoulder height. Now roll them while rotating backwards and rotating also from the wrist and from the fingers. Very gently shed a little bit more that you have come into the improvement. that you have come into the understanding, when you have come into. Now do the same onto the opposite direction. Now very gently coming into the knees. Now this start from the hips and go into the heels. Push the hips into the front. We are coming into the Uttarasana, camel pose. So basically, if you still feel that you want to work slowly with the psychosomatic practice, take a deep breath in, right arm reaching up to the ceiling. Rotate that wrist and come back to the hips. Now left arm reaching, create space. Let the kidneys be buoyant. Push the hips forward and tilt the head back, aligning with the spine. So if you're taking an arch it well. Don't tilt the head, but more arch the head with the spine. Now you can reach onto the heels or to the toes. Now, very gently, I want you to come back the same way you went. Support the hips. Take a moment. Right arm reaching from the back to the up. Touch on the side of the hips. Left reaching into the back. Extend that arm up to the ceiling, into the front, onto the hip. Now go back into the child pose, supporting the kidneys, but dropping the elbows onto the side if you can. Now you have a waking up the spine very gently. Now you have a upgraded self of a realization that you can meet present moment, accept without any criticism the life where it is. Now, accepting the present moment is very hard for a person who has no idea or a realization about elevating themselves. Now, the spontaneity of life, whether it's wild in your imagination or the mind, whether it's tranquil in your imagination or in the mind, does not matter you, because you are accepting and you have come into the understanding of happiness is when you're not denying the present stage. And it's not a life of quality of things, it is a life of a quality of flexibility. It is a life of a quality of responsiveness. Before it was reactive, before you didn't have for the present moment is flexibility. Before wild was wild for you, ankle was too slow for you. So you were rejecting everything about the present. Whether it's a moment of health, whether it's a moment of finance, whether it's a moment of relationship, doesn't matter. You're not meant to be in that place of the past. Now very gently pull the buttocks out and stretch the legs into the front. Now pointing and flexing. Then very gently take a deep breath in. Point the toes towards each other, heels apart. Bit more. Shoulders roll back and create that space. And you're becoming more aware of whether you're guiding towards the depth of the body is the energy of the body. whether you're guiding into the space of the depth of the emotion, where it always started with richness. And then, because constantly it was in the shadow, you took the richness out and you left the skeleton. You left the dead part of the life, not the living part of the life. Now you're bringing it into the living. Now take a deep breath in. Very gently come into a place of the feet is neutral. Bring the left knee onto the chest. Left foot onto the right side. Now very gently bring in that right foot under the left buttock. Take a deep breath in. Elongate the spine. Create the space. Shoulders love space. Spine love space. Let those objects of the bones sit in space, not sitting, hitting each other, where your realization can create space to heal, creating a space to receive. Now take a deep breath in, left arm reaching up to the ceiling, into the back, overlooking into that side. When you're ready, getting that right elbow in front of that left knee, creating a mudra, and creating that space for that what we were previously unconscious. We were previously small as a child, as a mind, as a heart. This is the time you're breathing, and let that smaller notions coming into higher purpose. So until you embrace that child, you will never ever become into the sacred space of that masculinity or femininity. Or let's say that divine beyond a gender. Otherwise, what will happen is you will build a body, you will build a house. Or what happens when you're weak to build things? What happens when you're weak to hold things? What happens you don't have that openness? If you have the idea of the body, if you have an idea of the mind, if you have an idea of the identification. Now take a deep breath into the space of the transformation, the space of the lift, space of the contrast. And releasing the tension of the fear, the past, the small mind, the small place where everything is triggers. Coming back into the center. Now perform that space of that evolving space of your practice onto the other side with your own timing. It does not matter to listening to the space of the logic. Logic will trigger the place of matter. But you need to go beyond the matter and the logic. Right arm reaching up. A lot of things are shifting in your world. The space of the psychic energy, space of the past, space of the spirit. Yeah, stored trauma can erupt today for you and show a cathartic release of outburst. So be aware of it. Take a mudra. Take a mudra where the fuel is there, but it's not an inferno, it's lighting a lamp. The mudra is, the fuel is there, but is settled, not unsettling. It's not evoke judgment. It doesn't evoke a past anger. It is more of reaching into the space, out to those areas. Now the soul is in the space of the seat, not just the mind. So it can heal the body, it can heal the mind. So this transformation, people think it is not a good place to be, but it is a good place because it is transforming in its possible way of how it could transform, which suits for you, not for the crowd, not to the Instagram, not to the public, not to the crowd. Now very gently coming back. Now take a moment, sit deeply, check anything that you need to release as a space of the catharsis, whether it's an out breath that you use, whether it's a posture that you use, whether it's a twist that you do, express this old shackling that kept you locked all this time. Now, very gently sitting deeper into the space of allow things to happen, where your old identity is coming back, but your awareness is holding that, and you will feel that identity is too limiting, identity is too small, identity doesn't serve the purpose. So observe the screen and think it's a projection from the screen, but the screen itself is authentically that space of consciousness. Now, once you rejected the paths, they can come now, hidden paths that you locked away as your childhood. Let them all come out of hiding. Let it integrate with the rest of you. You're not avoiding it. You're not locking away like a secret document that you don't want anyone else to see, but you're holding into it. Every breath you are becoming more real. It's not about whether the world see me changing, whether my partner see me changing, whether my parents see me changing. There is nothing for you to prove for them. Because that's in the space of the mind is working on the other part of the mind. Now, on the contrary, your change will trigger other people, but you're not the same person that I do. That's because they want you to be the child, whether it's a parent, and they are not willing to let go and change and grow with your change. So you will see lots of limitation of people that is tend to not to understand you. But your change will inspire others who are on the same level of realization and willing to evolve in this time of this era. So it might take time, it might take a fraction of a second of realization for you to embrace, settle peacefully. What is the purpose of your life? What are you really here? And what are, from that space of this moment, what are you meant to do? I'm closing the space of the class with that space. What are we here? And from here, what are we going to do? Take a deep breath in, arms gently raised back to the ground, arms very gently coming into the space of the crown. Very gently come into that realization of your practice, that you are working with your space of the shadows. Third eye, understanding the necessity of this for you to become evolved. Throat chakra. Let your words come into this place of the integration, unity, where your heart see everyone as a space of you, solar plexus, that you can offer yourself into the space of from here what to do, navel, being through to the space of the emotions, the intensity. And when it is happen, it's not to react, but opportunity to discover the truth. Muladhara. Just liberate that spine to work very freely, not from the past, but a frequency of the present. Back into the center, arms raised onto the ground. Touch the earth and see the space through the limitation of a body and a mind, but awareness of all. Gently coming out of the practice, palms onto the namaskar position of that liberation, that growth, that evolve. Namaste. So the classes are getting deeper and deeper, and you could see, since they are getting a bit more deeper, you may have to work on so many levels of shedding. Now, when the shedding happens, mind doesn't like to shed those old skins because they think an old person can still have a strength to grow. Now, that comes from the identity of the ego. What no longer serves you has to go, whether it belongs to your surname or the middle name or your first name, or to your gender or the idea of the world. You have to let it go. And then realization is come, is not to go and fill the parts of the skin that you gave it away, but to be more naked with a sense of understanding and sense of life. The more you understand, more you become very open. You see, if you see the sky, where whether the bird fly from this corner to that corner, the sky doesn't identify it with anything and let it float, whether it's a cloud, whether it's something else. They just allow things to happen. But you have such awareness to be the backdrop of it. You're free from all the objects. But when the mind identifies it, it identifies with that bird and gone with that bird, gone with that cloud, gone with that wind, gone with the color of the sun, everything. So enjoy everything, because you become aware means you're not going to be, you're enjoying everything, but you don't allow objects to enjoy you, your awareness. That's a pristine part. It's a truthful part that you, I'm not saying to you going into tapas or going to become a monk or going to say no to luxury. Luxury is there. The only thing that you don't have, you don't have the attachment to it. They're there to enjoy it. So enjoy this present life. It's so good to see you, Rebecca and Daz and Matt. Uh, it was a small class, but it's a lovely class to be with you all. Without separation, my love to you all. Big hugs for you all. I'll see you soon. Take care. Namaste.